Welcome to the Series 12 panel discussion, and today we are talking about Nikola Tesla's Night of Terror. So just a little preamble to going on with the rest of the panel discussion. I've had a little rethink about the last 3 episodes, and I'm not as keen on them as I was when I first watched them. I don't know, there's something about them where they're kind of enjoyable when you're watching them, but when you really start to think about them afterwards, they do deteriorate a little bit, but whatever, that's neither here nor there. So today I have with me Joey.
Hello.
Zach.
Hello there.
And Trenton.
Hello.
And so we're going to talk about Nikola Tesla's Night of Terror, as I said, and we're going to start off with talking about the Doctor in this episode. Would you like to start, Joey?
Should I started the last one? Okay. No, I really enjoyed the Doctor's characterization in this. I don't think it was quite on the level of Orphan 55 because the stakes weren't as high, but at the same time, I do see that effort made to tone down the cringy jokes. I do see the effort made to just restrain her a bit more as a Doctor and in her general characterization. So I think this time around, while it's not quite as dramatic as I would have liked, compared to the characterization in Orphan 55, I think there is still a lot to enjoy here because, yeah, like I said, she is just toned down. A lot of her character interactions were really great. Specifically for the lackluster monster in this, I think she did work really well off of the monster in this. Specifically, of course, when that line came up that we all. I hope we all enjoyed about seeing a planet burn. I thought she is still playing that general arc really strongly. I like seeing continually in each episode after Spyfall Part 2, still seeing those repercussions that each time something even vaguely relating to what she's going through is brought up, it still affects her, and you still see that within her acting. And I think Jodie plays it wonderfully. I think there's a lot to enjoy in her performance here.
I've got to agree with that, Joey. It was very much building off of Orphan 55 in terms of keeping her character toned down and keeping dialogue that she says a lot better. Spyfall, she was almost as bad as she was in Series 11, where I did not enjoy her at all. But here, I actually felt that she was quite enjoyable. Not anything great. There's still a lot of work to do on giving her a distinct personality as a Doctor, a distinct character. But at least she's enjoyable now. I'm not having a difficult time watching her anymore, which is a really good thing. My only complaint, and it is a very major one, she's being used far too much for just exposition. These episodes are having far too many ideas, trying to squeeze it into far too short a time. And to compensate for that, Jodie Whittaker's Doctor is just an absolute exposition machine. And I don't think it works. I don't think it's very good writing. It really sticks out like a sore thumb.
Actually, another quick note on the Doctor's characterization in this. Apparently the writer who wrote this episode script edited The Woman Who Fell to Earth and It Takes You Away. 2 of the episodes where I think her characterization was pretty strong last series.
Yeah.
So that may have a lot to do with it.
I think we have to say this is probably the first time since Jodie's actually started as a Doctor that I actually can say honestly that I enjoyed watching her. I was actually somewhat engaged with her performance, the story this time.
Yeah, completely agree. Do you have anything to say, Trenton?
Yeah, I do agree with all those points. I definitely say Series 12 is definitely a step up from last year, and especially with an episode like this one. Even though she kind of was pushed into the background, this was more about Tesla than anything. But to me, this Series 12-13 is way better than Series 11-13. I think we're starting to hit her stride. She's finally settled. And they're toning her down, trying to figure out where she's at. But that sounds about right. Yeah,
they just need to find out where they're going to take her character, how they're going to make her character distinct from other Doctors. So,
I can't see an effort being made to develop her character. It's just not. We haven't seen it come to fruition yet, so I'm going to reserve judgment on her clear direction yet until I actually see what the point of doing this whole Gallifrey arc is, what it means to her, what it's actually going to mean by the end of the series. Because as of right now, I can't, like I said, I can't see the effort being made to give her an arc and give her a purpose as a Doctor. But I think it's too early to judge at this point, considering they've only just started making the effort to finally define her character.
And they should have been doing that from the start. She's already over a season in. She should already have a distinct character. Simple.
Yeah.
I agree with
Well, I
that.
will say at this point in time, if I can compare a character to any Doctor, it'd probably be the 10th Doctor midway through Series 2. You know,
Oh,
the whole
yeah.
Idiot's Lantern.
Yeah.
I mean that 10th Doctor.
Oh god.
And all the time, and all the time,
Very
I do
unkind.
I do think much like David Tennant, she is always enjoyable to watch. She does always bring that energy. So I think
Well,
Yeah.
I don't find that with either case, to be honest. I often don't enjoy both of those Doctors. And
Well,
it's
yeah.
not
Oh, no, no, no,
particularly
because we've had this discussion, Dylan, and I know we both agree that like at least David Tennant is enjoyable to watch because you could always tell he's bringing his 100% to the script, and in Series 12 specifically, I am seeing that in Jodie.
Well, I disagree. I mean, I agree that they're always bringing, a lot of energy and effort to the role, but the writing's a decisive factor, really, and a lot of the times both characters are very annoying.
Yeah, fair. I mean, I don't know. I think this is where we kind of start to divulge on that point specifically with 13 here. I think the writing has been a lot stronger this time around, and I think I am just enjoying her character a lot more because the writing is a lot better, and she's still giving the same energetic performances that she has been giving.
I mean, the past two episodes, I've liked her. She was all right in It Takes You Away and The Woman Who Fell to Earth, but the rest of her era, I have not liked her at all. Especially some of the awful, awful dialogue she's been made to say. So it isn't Jodie Whittaker's fault at all.
Mm.
It's just the dialogue has generally been pretty poor in the
Yeah.
so far.
I can agree with that.
I want Jodie's Doctor to get a scene where she gets properly broken and such, because where Jodie Whittaker's acting in general shines
I think we started to see that in Spyfall Part 2, and that's a big reason why I enjoyed that a lot.
I think, one of the big complaints and suggestions for improvements I had coming into Series 12 was that Jodie Whittaker hasn't really faced enough of actual, trouble. Something for her to actually really face up to. And we're starting to have that, because obviously we had in Spyfall Part 2 the Master, and then we've had, a desolate, dead Earth, and we've had Gallifrey, and we've had now, this episode, which, even though the stakes weren't that high, they still felt a lot higher than they have been in previous Series 11 stories, where, it didn't really feel like a whole... It felt too easy for the TARDIS team, whereas it did feel like they had to put a bit of effort in for this episode.
Yeah. Yep.
Anything else to say on the Doctor before we move on?
no.
Alright, so the next thing we're going to talk about is the companions in this episode. Would you like to start, Zach?
Okay, I'll actually start off here with Yaz, because in her other appearances she's always been the most bland one. I feel this time around I actually enjoyed her characterization. I actually enjoyed the way she interacted with other characters. This is the first time I feel like.
I'm gonna disagree there already.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, just like a quick counterpoint. You said both characterization and character interactions. I'm gonna agree with one of those.
Okay,
points,
fine.
And that's gonna be character interactions. Because again, I could see the conscious effort being made to have her do more things and have her be a more active role, be a more active part of the plot. But she still barely has a character.
Yeah, do things does not equal have character.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It just steps from doing no things and having no character.
At least in Spyfall Part 1, the investigative element of it was still in line with what we knew about her character. This time it's just, Yaz does important thing, that means character. Like, no.
That's not how that works.
Ryan is kind of... And he didn't really do much, Ryan, this time. And this is the third story in this series where they seem to have given Ryan some kind of love interest.
Yeah, it's a little odd. Ryan, I thought found a little lackluster in this, actually.
I mean, it's got to be said, the high points of Series 11 were Graham and Ryan. But so far in Series 12, they've been thrown the dogs for most of it.
I liked
except for Orphan 55. I thought they were good.
I like Graham's line to Thomas Edison later on about the co-worker. But I can't really think of much else he's done.
He didn't really
Not
have
this
a
episode.
massive
I think Graham was probably my favorite companion in this episode. I think he offered a lot because he did not quite have a connection to this story, but he was more enthusiastic as a character towards the situation, and thus not only is Bradley Walsh enjoyable to watch, but you're able to throw Graham into the situation more. He's able to interact more easily with the other characters and relate to them on a more personal level. So I think, I really enjoyed him in this one. He offered a lot to.
I still felt that all of the companions didn't really get enough to do, and again, it's 45-minute syndrome. They very much the focus of this episode is Nikola Tesla, and the Doctor gets a fair bit to do, and that's at the complete expense of everything else, because the companions get nothing to do. And if you're gonna have already 45 minutes enough, even if you only had one companion, but 3 companions just compounds this problem to an unimaginable degree. They struggled in the Davison era, where it was mostly all four parters to have 3 companions and to characterise them all, and to get them all doing something every story. How do you think you can achieve that when the majority of your stories are only 1 part long?
Yeah, I mean, even in the Davison era, at times they edited out characters, in Kinda, they completely wrote out Nista. And then they killed Adric. I'm like
3 companions only worked in the Hartnell era, and because they had mostly 6 parts.
That's because the stories are ridiculously long.
And even then, they would still have a character go on holiday for a couple of weeks in some episodes.
Yeah.
Most of the time, Susan would get nothing to do. It would be the Ian and Barbara show, and it would just 3 companions is just too much. It's especially in this situation.
Even in the Hartnell, all three companions had a distinct role in the stories to play, even if they sometimes were sidelined. Here, they've just been sidelined.
I mean, sometimes they were very much sidelined in some of the stories, Sensorites, where the barber is basically I am hostage for the vast majority of the story.
Yeah.
But the point is, they still managed to characterize all those companions well. Yeah. But it was still a struggle, even with 6 parts. They couldn't do it with 4 parts, so why do they think that it's going to work with 1 part?
Yeah. Which are essentially a classic Who 2-parters, and it's not enough to work with.
Yeah.
Unless you do Edge of Destruction, and Edge of Destruction, literally the only cast are the Doctor and companions.
Yeah, minimalist stories, but you can't just have all minimalist stories.
Exactly. Yep. Which is a big reason why Orphan 55 didn't work.
Yeah, I mean, that was an episode that had the potential to be great, but because it had to be compressed down, it ended up being a bit naff.
Yeah, it was. With that story, it was good idea, poor execution.
Horrific.
Good idea, poor execution.
And it wasn't. I didn't feel it was as much the writer's fault as it was A, the format, and B, the directing and editing, which I feel messed around.
I mean, let alone the fact that it wasn't Ed Hunn's fault, but the fact that he did have to cut down his story significantly from what the original idea very clearly was, it definitely hurt the episode overall.
Anyway, since we're getting off topic now, I think we're going to move on to the side characters. I put this above the plot in this episode because I felt that the side characters definitely had more pride of place than the plot. So, let's get to that and start with Trenton.
Yeah, I really felt like this episode was about Nikola Tesla. I mean, it started with Tesla, and the Doctor just runs in. How long was it? 5-6 minutes in, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this was more Tesla's story than anything, and I thought that was great, just so we can have because it's different, and I like different.
What I will say about this is this almost reminded me of some of the Hartnell historicals, specifically just with Tesla, in the way that they really managed to characterize him into a really likable and enjoyable historical figure, and played by a really good actor as well. It was really well done. My only complaint is going to be that is not necessarily with Tesla himself, but more just the way that he was sometimes presented in terms of Jodie Whittaker, in the sense that she would just pause the episode and then spiel off the history of Nikola Tesla.
I got that a couple of times, yeah.
If it was a children's documentary with a time-traveling teacher who would painstakingly explain everything in exposition like it was a history book or a history documentary, rather than having it naturally be shown in the episode. And again, it's time constraints.
Typically, I find dialogue like that really heavy-handed, but I thought the energy that it was brought with, and specifically because the actor playing Tesla and Jodie were just giving 100% to those scenes, I really did buy into this. It was literally just Jodie rattling off history facts, but I didn't care because I was so into the scene, they just totally dragged me in.
No, I did care. I feel that it's breaking the rule of, show, don't tell. This isn't a documentary. You've got, this is, meant to be drama. You've got to show us. You can't just say, oh, well, here, he's famous for this, and this. I think it's poor writing. And to be fair to the writer, it's probably because of time constraints more than anything. But it's still an issue. And they need to stop doing one part if they can't manage to do them without exposition dumps and compressing parts of the plot and sidelining characters.
Yeah.
Also, while we're on the subject of Tesla, why don't Ryan and Yaz know who Tesla are?
Yeah, I knew who Tesla was.
They know the do they at least know what Tesla coils are?
I mean, okay, let me say this.
Musk.
Because you're from America, so I don't know if he's on the school curriculum in America, but he's not on the school curriculum, at least when I was growing up in Britain. But I know about him anyway, but I'm a history student, so...
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Then again, Edison is on the curriculum.
I think the whole point of the episode is exactly why so many people don't know about him. I've seen a ton of people on Twitter saying that they didn't know who Nikola Tesla was before this, and the whole point of the episode is that Nikola Tesla was overshadowed by Edison's achievements.
Although I will say, in the UK, I think as many people know as much about Nikola Tesla as they know about Edison. So, I mean,
I think it's because you have more of an objective view.
We taught Edison on our school curriculum, but that was just one. But I'm surprised it didn't throw in a reference. To Elon Musk considering Tesla.
Oh no, they did.
But
they said something about the cars.
Oh.
But also talking about Tesla and Edison, I thought Thomas Edison was horribly caricatured. I did not enjoy the writing of him at all. I thought the actor was good. I forget his name, but Edison, I behind the way he was written.
Yeah,
I know the actor who played Edison in this. He was in Caves of Androzani actually.
It was Robert Glenister. Yeah,
that's his name.
He was.
Yeah.
I preferred him in the Caves of Androzani. It was still good here.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Edison will go down as the more memorable performance, but yeah, like I said, like it was very just broad strokes of like this is who Edison was, and he's the one that overshadowed Tesla in history. He's the bad guy.
Again, it feels like a children's documentary rather than a drama, which is
at least
the main problem dragging down this episode, along with time constraints.
Yeah.
At least they kind of got the facts right, like. Edison did offer Tesla like $50,000 to fix his generators and whatnot. Tesla did it, and then he was like, "Oh, it's all in the good American humor or whatnot."
I mean, I think it would have been hard
true.
It would have been hard to get the history facts right, considering they were just copying and pasting history books.
They were just getting the information off of Wikipedia. They were getting the information off of Wikipedia,
Yeah, and your Edison, one Robertson et al. Ooh, somebody left the source in there. Can we refilm that?
I will say one thing that someone told me is someone who hadn't heard of Tesla after watching this. It did get them to actually go and look him up because this piqued their interest. Even if it was a little heavy-handed in the episode, it's still nice that people are doing that as a result.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I appreciate that it is having that effect on people, that it is getting people interested in it. So that's nice.
Yeah, I bet the Tesla estate has been handing a few wads of greenies underneath the table at the BBC.
And now Tesla has to appear every season.
the Nikola Tesla Dalek story. I'm waiting for that.
I think the only person we haven't
static electricity.
Yeah, the only person we haven't talked about so far is that one girl, the Dorothy, I think her name was.
Mentioned her briefly as a Ryan love interest, but yeah, she mostly spent the story Mr. Tesla, Mr. Tesla.
Mr. Tesla. Like, I don't even know. I'm trying to look her up right now. Is she a real person?
I mean, I would assume she is.
So I like that. I've forgotten her name, but she's essentially the Yaz to Tesla's doctor.
Yeah.
See, Tesla is Ryan, Edison is Graham, and whatever her name is Yaz.
Definitely.
And alien monster is the doctor. It's like poetry; it rhymes.
Can we have Dorothy Ace McShane? We have Dorothy Ace McShane at home. Dorothy Ace McShane at home.
Oh. Yeah, I can't find any information on this woman anywhere, but
anything
Dorothy
to say on the side characters before we move on?
Nope.
All right,
we're done.
The plot, which includes the monsters, is the next category we're going to talk about. So let's start with you, Joey.
Oh, shite. Let's see the plot. Okay. It's a little rushed. But also I do kind of appreciate yeah. I do appreciate the way that we were thrown into it, though. Like, I think just focusing on Tesla for the very beginning of the episode and just throwing the Doctor and company into it was a good way of just getting the plot started. You know, it didn't fall into that common New Who trap of like trying to do the classic Who thing of balancing both supporting characters and TARDIS team at once. It was just like, look, we don't have enough time to show like how the Doctor and companions got here. Let's just throw them into the plot, and I thought it was a pretty smart move to kick off the episode.
Isn't that a problem though? Because it felt
Well,
it felt way too fast. At the
I'm
beginning, the pace
I'm gonna
was
disagree with
absolutely breakneck.
I'm going to
Surely
disagree with
it would be
that.
better if we could have a chance to really establish what's going on first by having a longer episode.
But how else would you get around it if you didn't have a longer episode?
Well, as I say, it's a good way to get around it, but we're saying the words "get around it" because it's a problem.
I don't think it's a problem because they did get around it.
Well, they got around it by diminishing the quality of the episode.
I don't think the beginning was diminishing the quality of the episode.
Well, I did. I felt it was going way too fast, and it's going way too fast almost every week.
Not in this case. No, I'm going to have to hard disagree with that for the beginning. But
we don't get a proper feel for the world we're in. We don't get to know many of the characters other than Tesla. The companions barely have anything to do. Like some points of the plot are more or less just exposition dumped.
I wasn't talking about the plot at large. That's what you're doing. I'm saying, like, at the very beginning, it was not an issue. I thought it was an easy way of getting around the issue of not having enough time, like still trying to cram in the Doctor and company getting to this time period and how they got into this position. It was just a good way of getting around it, and I didn't mind it. The rest of the plot, yes, extremely rushed. Again, companions had nothing to do. We barely know any of the supporting characters.
But, personally,
the aliens.
When the monster just came in, I was like, ... It felt like they were just rolling it out. All right, we've got a monster. We need to stop it. They've got a big plot to do. We have to roll it out, stop them, and save the day.
To respond to you, Joey, one of the most important things in Doctor Who for me is world building, and you need to do that. You need to have a very solid establishing section at the beginning of the plot. If you're just gonna rush along like that at a breakneck pace instantly, it doesn't work. And I feel this world building is especially important for historicals when you're trying to teach people about this world and give them the
okay,
but
they did world build Tesla and the world around him. They just didn't bother showing us the Doctor.
All they really did was show the anti-AC protest for like a few seconds, and then they move on from that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to be overly negative because it wasn't a bad story at all, but I just feel that, again, it's a massive victim of 45-minute syndrome, 50-minute syndrome. Clearly a very talented writer's writing this, but just doesn't have the time to properly do it in a way that doesn't have lots of contrivances and a pace that goes too fast and a million bits of exposition that stick out quite a lot.
Yeah.
Like I said, like, I'll agree with that, but yeah, I just don't think the beginning was a problem at all. I was still sucked into the world immediately.
Well, I know my opinion on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about the monsters then, since we've been talking about this?
The
monsters.
Shite! Oh, okay. Look,
the Empress of the Blacknos.
If they're just going to be the Rachnos, at least just take the time to say, "Oh yeah, you're related to the Rachnos, aren't you?" Or like, "We are next to the planet of the Rachnos." Oh, you're related. Okay, like just do that. Like, otherwise, it just seems lazy.
They really are. Literally, I
don't know if anyone saw on Twitter, but like I just said, like they're basically the Rachnos, but they based them on a different insect. That's all they did.
Yeah.
Even down to the list of everything, makeup and all. I will say something. The girl that was playing the whatever the monster's called, whatever their leader is, it's the same girl that played Rani in the Sarah Jane Adventures.
Okay, now that we're talking about the performance, even right down to the cadence, the way she talked was similar to the Rachnos.
I was watching this with a casual fan, and I mean really casual. Like, usually when he watches the episodes, it's in passing. And he said, "Oh, that's like that villain from the Tennant era, isn't it?"
It's basically Diet Rachnos.
When I first saw it in a trailer, I thought it was the Rachnos.
So did I.
Yeah.
And can I tell you what? I have a bone to pick with this. It's one of my main pet peeves of New Who. they don't have a real imagination in terms of coming up with monsters. So what they do is they just make a slightly anthropomorphic insect. And so they've done flies, they've done spiders, they've done rhinos, they've done all of the other ones have done. Now they're on to scorpions. I mean, what's next? We're going to get fucking aardvark fucking villains. I mean, shit.
They even did bees. Like they didn't even turn the bees into like they didn't like try to like change the bees. It was just
giant
it was just a large bee.
Attack of the Killer Armadillo.
Sonic the Hedgehog, the next Doctor Who villain.
Not the redesigned one, the original one.
Yes.
The redesigned Mighty the Armadillo.
Honestly, that is horrific enough to be in a Doctor Who episode.
Oh.
Jesus.
But
Honestly, it just felt like Ragnos Light, like
Oh,
giant
yeah,
Ragnos.
but I will say
totally
I did.
tacked on.
I will say, as far as the connection between the alien ship like being all stolen parts, like tying into the theming of the episode, I did appreciate that. I thought like,
Well,
look, because I thought at least like, well, the alien plot is bullshit. We may as well like try to find a loose way to connect it to our main plot with Tesla and Edison. So I appreciated that, but still the alien was shite.
So while
Yeah.
I can appreciate the link between the ship of spare parts and the theming and whatever, I will say you've got Nikola Tesla, this man with boundless imagination who's envisioned all of these amazing things, and the best thing you can think to do with him in the Doctor Who plot is he gets kidnapped to repair a ship.
Because he replied back.
I could actually get around that. I'm kind of annoyed with the way that they underutilized him in the resolution of the episode. He just kind of hits the button and then the plot is resolved. Like that's it. Like you just kept him in the TARDIS for that one purpose. He could have been the one to come up with the way to defeat the alien.
why
Like,
is it
that would have been
Jodie
really cool.
that
That
came
would have
up
been a really
with
great way to utilize your
Utilize
historical
the
figure
Warden
who has such a boundless imagination and is so creative. You could have utilized him much better in that
Oh, you're
situation.
completely right, Joey.
Absolutely. On it, like
in a way, you could say that. In a way, I felt that they were sort of rehashing the idea of the girl in the fireplace of how the aliens thought Madame de Pompadour's body parts would be enough to restore the ship.
Well, that is a little similar, isn't it? I kind of get that. Yeah.
Only from a thematic sense, but even so, I couldn't help but notice sort of similarities.
Yeah.
Anyway, so quickly before we move on to final thoughts, I just wanted to appreciate the music in this episode. I felt that Segafredo did a really good job.
Yes.
He's excellent.
Honestly, he's
been on fire this entire series. He's
so
even
much better
last
than
series he
Murray
was
Gold.
great.
Oh, he is.
Yeah, honestly, I think Murray Gold burned himself out.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
I was
He burned
never a
himself
big
out.
fan of him to begin with, because I felt the big bombastic orchestra didn't work for a lot of Doctor Who stories, and as such it felt really intrusive. Where I feel with Sega Nakanole, he manages to get music that for the most part fits the feel of every episode distinctly.
Yeah.
Which is what I've wanted for so long. And it means that, because in a lot of the Murray Gold era episodes, I'd always be taken out, but like, oh no, this music's being used in the wrong place. I think the example I always go to is I Am the Doctor being played at the Angels cliffhanger. It was just the wrong music for the situation.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
now with Second Akinola, it's not taken me out of the episode anymore. The music is always done well now.
He did the Rosa thing again of giving the historical figure like their own theme, but it wasn't as blaring and bombastic as the Rosa theme, and I really enjoyed it this time. Like in the Rosa theme, I felt it was too brassy and like was pretty intrusive. The only time I really thought Akinola was similar to Gold, but here I thought he was absolutely spot on.
Yeah, I haven't talked about this series, so I thought it was good to give him some applause.
Oh, definitely.
Also really like the use of Jodie Whittaker's Doctor's theme in her introduction scene in this episode. I thought it felt really natural when it came in.
Oh,
Wait, Jodie Whittaker's Doctor has a theme?
Yes.
Yeah. See, and that's how you know it's good, because they don't overuse the shit out of it.
Yeah, because I hated both the 11th and 12th Doctor's theme pretty quickly after they were introduced.
Her theme is more subtle. Her theme is more subtle, but I recognize the familiar beats of it. It's there if you listen hard enough.
Yeah, well, I think, to me, the fact that I didn't recognise it is a credit to it. The fact that it's now just complementing the atmosphere of the episode rather than just glaring over
again.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're going to move on to final thoughts now. So I'm going to stop giving ratings out of 10. Anybody else is welcome to continue to give ratings out of 10 at the end, but I just find the whole rating system very arbitrary, and which I didn't really care about to begin with panel discussions, but some people have held me to scores I've given on opinions I've completely changed.
Connor!
So, well, it's not just Connor, there's other people who've done it as well. So it's just screw it, I'm getting rid of the rating system. People can give ratings if they want, but I won't. So would you like to start, Zach?
Okay. I admit this episode is flawed. It suffers from 45-minute syndrome, but even if it is problematic, I still thought it was a pretty enjoyable piece of fluff for 45 minutes. But I hope things get better from here.
Trenton?
I very much agree with that. I thought this episode was enjoyable for what it is. And honestly, if people think last week was the worst it can get, there's nowhere to go but up. And that's proved me right. And this episode proved me right. There is nowhere to go but up from here.
But I didn't even feel that Orphan 55 was that bad. I mean,
no,
I've seen a hell of a lot worse.
No,
do people watch them of that era?
It's like, I suffered through hell bad, for God's sake. Orphan 55 is not that bad.
There's at least half of Series 11 I'd say was worse than it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Episode 4 2 years ago was Arachnids in the UK, for goodness sake.
Oh.
Alright, Joey, would you like to give your final thoughts?
Let's see. Doctor's characterization was fine in this. Companions were mostly underutilized, but I did enjoy Graham. Pretty weak alien, though I did like the theming between the alien plot and Tesla's plot. Tesla was a fantastic character. I would not doubt if he would go down as one of the best portrayed historical figures in Doctor Who. Edison was horribly caricatured. Any other supporting characters just went in and out of my mind immediately. Plot was fine, mostly rushed, and final resolution was horribly rushed. That was the worst part about it. And overall, I enjoyed it. I think I mostly enjoyed it. Not entirely sure as far as a rating yet. I'm gonna say probably a 6.5 maybe. Not sure, but it's definitely above average. And I think there's a lot to be enjoyed here. And I think and also I think the dialogue was spot on throughout most of the episode.
All right, so it was a very enjoyable episode. There's no doubt about that. The writer who wrote it, clearly very talented. I really like the Doctor in this for the second time ever. They're really starting to improve Jodie Whittaker's Doctor. I hope this doesn't end once we get a writer who maybe isn't as good as writing a Doctor that doesn't really have much of a personality. There's still some improvement there to do with Jodie, a lot of improvement. But it's something that I'm at least enjoying it now. I think that's quite good. And also, Nikola Tesla was brilliant in this story, showing that their talent for writing some good dialogue and making a compelling character isn't just limited to the Doctor. Again, a lot of things were sidelined and rushed. The plot, the side characters apart from Tesla, the companions, and there was a lot of problems with too much exposition being dumped on it, and at points it just feeling more like a CBBC history documentary than actual drama, actual Doctor Who. And that was a big problem. That did hinder a lot for me. But at the end of the day, I still enjoyed the episode. But I almost feel as if it's a waste, because this episode could have been so much more had it had longer. It's clearly a talented writer. I'd like to see them back, and I'd like to see them, please, oh please, oh please, scrap one-parters. They don't work. How many rushed episodes that don't quite work do you have to make before you change them? Or at least have more two-parters. I know everybody's probably sick of me saying it, but I'm sorry. Until they can either find some magical way of making one-parters work all the time, I'm going to complain about it. Or if they change the two-parters.
I mean, there is a way to make one-parters work all the time, but you can't be minimalist 24/7.
Yeah, because that would just be crap. You wouldn't,
I love Midnight. Midnight's my favorite New Who episode, but every episode can't be Midnight.
Every episode can't.
I enjoy Edge of Destruction a lot, but if the episode was Edge of Destruction, this would be a pretty crap show overall.
Yeah, it wouldn't have lasted nearly 60 years, exactly.
Yeah.
I think we all love about Doctor Who is its variety, and in order to have this variety, we need to try out different kinds of stories. But different kinds of stories need the appropriate amount of time and room to breathe. Every classic Who story had a different length because it was the length that it needed to be in order to fulfill its function, unless it was artificially extended, a la The Invasion, or artificially shortened. Any classic Who stories that come to mind that were shortened? Dominators. There we go.
Dominators, yeah. Dominators had an whole episode cut.
Yeah. So I think we crave that variety, but at the same time, there is only one way that New Who in its current state can keep working, and that is minimalism. But every episode can't be minimalist.
Just have longer stories, or maybe just have a few stories a year. I would prefer that. Just really focus all of your effort on a few stories. For one, it'll actually save money while having better looking episodes. You can write the episodes better, and you can make it proper event television. Rather than trying to hype up something completely different each week, you can have big proper event television. It can really pull in the ratings. I just feel they're missing a trick by having these one parts, especially when. But then
obviously the fear of BBC nowadays would be, people won't tune in for the rest of the parts if they're more than one episode. And I get that fear, but come on, just take that risk. The ratings aren't going to matter if the stories are quality.
The only time that's true is if the story's bad. But people will stop watching you if it's not good. But that's the same for the regular show anyway.
Yeah.
If the series structure became, I don't know, something like 3 stories every season with 3 episodes for each of them, I think that could potentially be a more solid thing.
That's my dream.
Even if you just did 4 or 5 stories a year and did 2-parters, I wouldn't mind that. Yeah, it'll make the world a difference. And the fact that they don't realize this just annoys the shit out of me.
And the fact that not many people are even saying it, people seem to just accept half-baked, stories every week.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Nobody else I see on Twitter complains about this. Everyone's just like, whether that episode was good or bad. No, why didn't the pacing of this story work? Don't just complain. Don't just complain about the pacing. Explain how you think it could be made better.
I'm still grumpy over Nightmare in Silver. I love Neil Gaiman as a writer, and that story was supposed to be a lot longer than it was.
Exactly.
Yeah, but also the plot points of Nightmare in Silver really couldn't have saved it with the way
I feel that
changed
Nightmare in
it.
Silver is one of those episodes that wouldn't be saved by Moffat.
Yeah, honestly.
I really don't want another 45 minutes of Matt Smith doing a shitty Mr. Clever thing.
People always say to me, you want longer stories. Well, it doesn't always make them better. Well, that's not the point. It just means they've got more chance of being better. You're still not going to save a turd. But you're going to save an episode like this and make it really, really strong rather than just enjoyable. Yeah. We want more than just enjoyable.
And back to what you were saying, on the better chance of being good, it doesn't mean that everything's going to be great, i.e. Keizo and Drazani followed up by Twin Dilemma. Amazing, absolute classic 1 week, immediately going into the fucking Twin Dilemma. It could be amazing 1 week, horrible the next. And at the end of the day, that doesn't matter. At the same time, at the end of the day, the Twin Dilemma has the time it needs to tell its story. It's a shit story, but it has the time it needs.
The one way to make the Twin Dilemma worse is make it only 45 minutes long, but keep all the plot points. Imagine how horrifically rushed that'd be.
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
No.
You'd have all that shite running at the speed of a speeding bullet. It's just... I wouldn't be able to take it.
How about just have 5 minutes of Colin Baker strangling Nikola Bryant at breakneck?
No.
Alright, so I hope
you need to end this video.
I hope you've enjoyed this little please stop one-parters rant addition to this discussion. But it's just, it's always frustrated me, but for some reason it's just been so much worse for the past 2 episodes that it's really got me riled up about it. I think it's because I see so much potential being squandered.
I think maybe because Spyfall, no matter what you thought of it, did have the time it needed to tell its story. Maybe these other 2 are paling in comparison. Maybe that's why
the time that Spyfall got more than Spyfall
did. Maybe that's the reason that it's a more prevalent issue now, is because we saw what a proper, fully thought out, structured 2-parter could be.
Yeah, but apart from that, Spyfall, the 2 episodes that followed Spyfall had much better, more coherent ideas that would deserve the 2-part more than Spyfall.
Definitely. But overall, I think Spyfall was better because But overall, I think Spyfall as a whole was better because it was better executed.
Yeah, if they were all three of them were two-parters, I guarantee Spyfall would be considered the worst.
Even if
Definitely.
even if Spyfall was a little rushed, it's still even if Spyfall was a little rushed, I still thought I still think it's a fairly coherent story overall.
Yeah, imagine how
Yeah.
incoherent that would be in one part. And don't tell me,
Yes.
oh well, they wouldn't have planned an episode like that for one part. Oh, they would. They've
Yeah.
had
Oh,
so
yeah.
many one-parters that have had as many
They-
plot points as that.
If
Do you
they
not remember
crammed
them off
Orphan
that era?
55 into one, if they crammed Orphan 55 into one episode, they would cram Spyfall into one episode.
Yeah.
Jeez. Oh.
Anyway, all right, I'm gonna end this now. So thank you all for coming on.
Yes, much love.
So
My pleasure.
Joey and
Yeah,
Trenton
thanks for
have
having me.
YouTube channels. I shall put links to them in the description. And I shall see you back next week for an episode which I don't know the name of. It has the Judean in there.
Yeah,
Rhinos and Suits.
Fugitive
Okay.
of the Judean.
Yeah, Fugitive of the Jadoon.
All right, so see you next week for that bollocks.
Hell